We ready to... Okay. Good afternoon. There we go. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon, Julie.
And welcome back to part 2 of our quarterly SILC meeting. Wendy, would you take roll?
Yes, this is Wendy Thornley for the record. Havander Davis. I saw him a minute ago.
I'm here.
Thank you. Vicky Essner.
Present.
Mary Evilsizer.
Present.
Dee Dee Formaster. Jennifer Kane is excused absent today. Saber McWhirter.
I'm here.
Raquel O'Neill. Obioma Officer. Okay. Kate Ostie.
Present.
I'm present. This is Obioma. I'm present.
Thank you. Cheyenne Pasquale. Renee Portnell.
I'm here.
Thank you. Ace Patrick.
Present.
Linda Voivoda.
Here.
And Julie Weissman Steinbach.
Present.
That's the total. And yes, we have quorum.
Great. Okay, so today we are going to begin with item number 10. And I'd like to invite Teresa Campbell, the public affairs specialist for Social Security California Inland area, to give us her presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie, and thank you to Dawn and Wendy for inviting me here. So let me share my screen, and if you're not able to see my presentation, if you could please let me know that so that we could get it back on. But I have worked for Social Security for over 31 years, and Social Security is really important to all of us, either because we receive a Social Security benefit ourselves or because one of our loved ones received Social Security. But this benefit is really, or this presentation is going to concentrate on what you need to know about your disability benefit when you turn age 18. So Social Security administers 2 disability programs, and they seem like they're almost the same thing because the acronyms are almost the same, but they are really 2 very different programs. One is called Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI, and the other one is called Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. Now, the SSDI payments come from the Social Security Trust Funds, and they are based on a person's earnings. So it's an insurance that workers earn by working and paying Social Security tax on their wages. In order to qualify for SSDI benefits, an individual needs to be too disabled to work substantially and have paid Social Security taxes. So it's a benefit for workers and also for their dependents. So if an individual receives SSDI benefits, their dependent children can receive benefits on their record, and oftentimes their spouse can receive benefits if they're taking care of the worker's children who are younger than age 16. The SSI payments come from the General Treasury Fund, not from the Social Security Trust Fund. So SSI payments are not based on a person's earnings. SSI is a needs-based public assistance program. That means that an individual does not have to have had jobs where Social Security tax was withheld from their pay. However, in order to receive SSI, an individual would need to have limited income and resources. So that means, for instance, a newborn baby could qualify for SSI benefits if the baby had a disabling condition and the parents had limited income and resources. So when a child receives SSI benefits, when they turn age 18, we complete an age 18 redetermination. And the reason for that is the disability criteria for adults is different than the disability criteria for children. And so the disability criteria for adults is more stringent than the criteria for children. About 1/3 of the children who receive SSI will not qualify for these benefits as adults. We also make sure that the child meets the non-medical eligibility rules, meaning the income and resource rules. When we do the medical redetermination, we ask for the names of any medicines, the reason for the medicines, and any side effects. We ask about hospital and doctor visits. And we ask if the individual has ever worked, and then we get the details of the work activity. We also ask for the school information and the teacher or counselor's contact information. So the definition of disability for both SSDI and SSI are the same, and the criteria to qualify for disability is very stringent. So it means that an individual has the inability to engage in substantial gainful activity by reason of a medically determinable impairment, which can be expected to result in death, or which has lasted or can be expected to last for not less than 12 months. So when we talk about substantial gainful activity, we mean the performance of significant and productive physical or mental work for pay or profit. And the amounts that we consider to be substantial gainful activity changes every year. So it usually goes up a little bit every year. So for 2022, the substantial gainful activity level would be 1,350 for a non-blind individual. That means if somebody is working and they are earning $1,350 a month or more, we would say, although this individual has a disabling condition, they are able to work substantially, therefore they would not qualify for Social Security disability or SSI. For a blind individual, the substantial gainful activity level is higher. It's 2,260. Now, even though we have this amount of $1,350 a month of earnings, there are some things that we take into consideration. So that number isn't a firm number, and we're going to talk more about that a little bit later. Now, if an individual was already receiving SSI as a child, engaging in substantial gainful activity would not automatically make the child ineligible for SSI when they turn age 18, but we would evaluate their prior work activity. Okay, so the best place to look for information about the disability program is online at socialsecurity.gov and the Blue Book. So this Blue Book was written for professionals who are helping individuals who have a disabling condition. So we call it a Blue Book because when the book used to be published before the days of the internet, it was an actual blue book. But now the information in the Blue Book would be found online. So in the Blue Book, you can find the adult listings and the childhood listings. This talks about the disability evaluation under Social Security. So it talks about our process. For instance, the first step is whether or not an individual is working substantially. If they are working substantially, then we would not send their application for a determination, for a medical determination. But if they're not working or not working substantially, then we send their case for a medical determination. The disability analyst then looks to see if the individual has a severe condition. If their condition, if it doesn't appear that it would last a year, or if it's not a severe condition, then the application would be denied. But if it is a severe condition, then it goes on to the third step, and that is, does it meet the listing level criteria? So in the Blue Book, you can find the listing of impairments. And then you can even drill down deeper into this. For instance, here, I clicked on digestive system, and you can see that this is what the disability analyst is looking for in order to make a favorable determination. So this really tells you specifically the analyst is looking through an individual's medical records, and they're trying to find this precise language. Now, sometimes the medical records won't contain enough information, and the disability analyst may send an individual to a consultative exam. But if they're able to find this information, they're able to find that the individual meets the listing level severity, then the application is going to be medically approved. Okay, now, if you're between the listing level, and so you have a severe condition, but it doesn't quite meet the listing level, or maybe you have a combination of impairments. If there's a combination of impairments, we could also say that that equals the listing level. But let's say an individual doesn't quite meet the listing level, they're in between. Then the analyst looks to see if the individual can return to any of their past jobs. If the answer is yes, then the claim would be medically denied. If the answer is no, then that means that the analyst reaches out to a vocational expert to see if there's other jobs available in the economy that the individual could do. And if the answer to that is yes, then the claim would be a medical denial. But otherwise, the claim would be approved. Okay, now this is it's a lot to go through, and we know that a lot of times with disabling conditions, oftentimes they could get better, they could get worse, and also an individual professional could have a different opinion. And so if an individual receives a denial, it's a good idea to file an appeal. And the reason for that is that many of the appeals are approved. So even though a lot of initial claims are denied, a lot of the appeals are approved, particularly at the hearing level. Now, if somebody was receiving a disability payment and they say you don't meet the adult criteria for disability, the individual can receive payment continuation while they are going through with the appeal process. The appeal must be received within 60 days of the decision. It must be received within 10 days if the individual wants payment continuation. Okay, so Social Security does review disability cases every so often. Now, when an individual applies for disability, the burden of proof is on that individual to prove that they meet the Social Security disability criteria. However, once somebody's claim has been approved, the burden of proof shifts. And when Social Security does a continuing disability review, the burden of proof is now on Social Security to prove that the individual no longer meets the disability criteria. Most cases are reviewed every 3 years. Some cases are reviewed every 7 years. If somebody receives an SSI payment and their income is so high, or their wages, I should say, they've returned to work and their wages are so high that they no longer qualify for an SSI payment, we can keep their SSI record active so that they can continue to have Medicaid, but we also do a continuing disability review. If it's found that somebody's medical condition has improved, then their benefits stop 2 months later.
Yeah.
Oh, you were a member of them?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I.
Can you leave?
Oh,
Thank you.
and so for the non-medical part, for the SSI, we ask information about income, including work activity, information about your resources, and information about your living arrangement. The payment rates in Nevada, and they're going to go up next year because there's going to be a 8.7% raise, but the SSI payment amounts for an individual who's living alone or living with other people but paying their fair share towards the household expenses is $841 a month. If an individual lives in the household of another, so they're living with other people, maybe with family members, and they're either not paying towards the household expenses or not paying their fair share, the SSI payment is $560.67 a month. And if an individual is residing in a skilled nursing facility and Medicaid is paying at least 50% of the cost, the SSI payment is $30 a month. So for every month that an individual receives an SSI payment, they automatically receive Medicaid. Individuals who receive Social Security disability are entitled to Medicare after being entitled to the Social Security disability for 24 months. Okay, and work incentives. So sometimes we think, you know, I went through a lot. It's not easy to apply for disability benefits. It can take a long time. It can be maybe pretty stressful. And you might feel, you know, I finally had my approval and I'm not sure that I want to try to go back to work. And it's completely voluntary if you want to try to go back to work or not. But Social Security does have certain work incentives in place so that if you want to either start working or if you want to return to work, we can support you in that. Okay, so those who are participating in an approved program of special education, vocational rehabilitation, or a similar service can continue to receive SSI even if it's found that they don't meet the adult criteria for SSI. So a child turns 18, they don't meet the more stringent adult criteria to receive SSI, but if they're participating in a program to help them obtain a good job, then their SSI can continue as long as the program began before the SSI eligibility ended, and continued participation in the program will likely result in employment with earnings above the substantial gainful activity level. So an example of an approved program would be an individual who has an IEP, if they're working with a vocational rehabilitation agency, if they're using supportive services, using an individual developmental plan, a service plan with their school, or if they have a plan for achieving self-support with Social Security. And we're going to talk more about these plan for achieving self-support in a little bit. Okay, Ticket to Work. Ticket to Work is an innovative program that can help an individual not just get a job, but actually lead to a career with long-term success. So it's a free employment service to help an individual find a job or to maintain success while they're already working. The Ticket to Work program includes career counseling, vocational rehabilitation, job placement, and training. And so, again, the Ticket to Work program, they want to help somebody prepare for long-term success. So not just the short-term job, but maybe something that's going to last to a career that can maybe last 20, 30, 40 years. So in order to participate in Ticket to Work, you would call 1-866-YOUR-TICKET. Okay, and we have different work incentives under the SSI program. First is the earned income exclusion, where we don't count the first $65 of gross earnings or 1/2 of the remainder. And there's an example of that coming up. The student earned income exclusion, where we exclude $2,040 a month of your earnings up to a yearly maximum of $8,230. The plan for achieving self-support, property necessary for self-support, and impairment-related work expenses. Okay, so here's an example of the SSI earned income exclusion. So we have Oscar, and Oscar receives SSI of $841 a month, and he started a job where he's earning $50 a month. Oscar doesn't have any income besides his SSI. So he has his wages of $500 a month. So there's a general income exclusion. Sometimes we call it the unearned income exclusion, but it's really a general income exclusion of $20 a month. Since Oscar doesn't have any other income, we use it for his wages. Then the earned income exclusion of $65 a month, that leaves us with $415. We divide that in half and we get $207.50. So that is Oscar's, what we call his countable income. So even though Oscar actually has wages of $500, we're only counting $207.50 a month. So Oscar used to receive an SSI payment of $841. However, we have to subtract his countable income from that because SSI is a needs-based program. So when we subtract $207.50 from $841, we're left with $633.50. So that means that Oscar's income, instead of getting $841 a month, his total income is going to be $1,133.50 a month. So it's increased by $292.50. So that means the higher your wages, the more your SSI is going to decrease, but the more income you're going to have overall. Okay, and the student earned income exclusion. This is for youths who are under age 22 and regularly attending school. So that means they're in college 8 hours a week, or high school 12 hours a week, or they're in training in order to prepare for employment at least 12 hours a week, or a transition employment preparation program while in special education. And the student earned income exclusion is $1,930 a month. So we have Jim, and Jim is working at a grocery store and he's earning $600 a month. So that means in the course of a year, Jim has earnings of $7,200 a year. The yearly earned income exclusion is $7,670. That means that Jim's countable income is zero. That means that his wages are not going to affect his SSI payment at all. Okay, and the plan to achieve self-support. This is where an individual can set aside their income and resources to use for a work goal. So now, because SSI is needs-based, when you have other income, your SSI is going to go down. Let's say you have unearned income of more than $861 a month. That means that you wouldn't receive any SSI at all because your other income is too high. However, we can set aside that income, or if you have resources, countable resources of more than $2,000, we can set that aside if you're going to use those resources for a work goal. So some examples of expenses would be educational expenses, vocational training, assistive technology, or the expenses for starting a business. Now, the plan to achieve self-support would be submitted using Form SSA 545. It would list a specific work goal and give a specific time frame. And then we would follow up, Social Security would follow up with you to see if you are meeting those milestones. And we would also ask for receipts so that we would be able to document that your income is going to your plan for achieving self-support. So we have Anne here, and Anne wants to go to school to become an RN. She's receiving Social Security disability of $1,200 a month. So if Anne said to us, I'd like to apply for SSI, we would tell her, I'm sorry, but your income is too high. Your Social Security disability of $1,200 a month is too high for you to receive an SSI payment. However, Anne needs $1,180 a month for her tuition, books, and supplies. So we can exclude that under the plan to achieve self-support. So we're not going to count Anne's Social Security disability when we compute her SSI payment. It means that Anne would then be eligible for an SSI payment of $841 a month. She would use that for her living expenses, and then her past funds of $1,180 would be used for her approved plan expenses. Okay, and the impairment-related work expenses. That's where Social Security would deduct the cost of certain impairment-related items and services from an individual's gross earnings. So the item or service would need to be necessary in order to enable an individual to work. It's needed because of the individual's impairment. It's not reimbursed by another source, and the cost is reasonable. So we have Lou here, and Lou has a job and he is earning $1,000 a month. But he has a service animal and he needs to pay vet bills and buy food for his animal. And so we're deducting that. That's $50 a month. He has prescription co-pays, and he needs to take these prescriptions in order to work. That's $40 a month. And he has an attendant, and the attendant is helping him get ready for work and driving him to and from work. And he pays the attendant $250 a month. That means Lou's earnings, his countable earnings, are $660 a month. And that's before we do the earned income exclusion. So we still do the, minus $65 from that, divide in half, and that would be the amount that would be deducted from the SSI payment. Okay, and additional work incentives include the Section 1619 work incentives, and that's for those individuals who receive SSI, have started to work, their earnings are so high that their SSI payment has gone down all the way to zero. But we keep the SSI record active so that the individual can continue to have their Medicaid. They would need to answer some questions. They would need to tell us that they need their Medicaid in order to continue to work. They've used Medicaid in the last 12 months, and they expect to use it again in the next 12 months. And then we can reinstate their SSI without a new application. So it's pretty easy because oftentimes what happens with wages is we can have some good months and then our wages can drop much lower. So we would just need to complete the input that wages have gone down or wages have stopped, and the SSI payment would start right up again. Okay, so understanding how work affects your benefits, it's a lot, and it can be very confusing. And the work incentives are different between the Social Security and the SSI program. There's some overlap, but we're all in a unique position, and the amount that we earn and our special circumstances, it would all affect us differently. And so this is part of the Ticket to Work legislation, the Work Incentives Planning and Assistance, and they can provide information and benefits counseling to understand how work and earnings will affect your benefits. So they can really sit down with you and collect the information and let you know exactly what's going to happen. So you don't have to kind of guess and be unsure that you're doing the right thing. In order to locate a WIPA project, you would contact Ticket to Work at 1-866-833-2967, or you can go online at our ssa.gov page to choosework.ssa.gov/find-help. Okay, protection and advocacy for beneficiaries of Social Security, or PBAS. This is also part of the Ticket to Work legislation. And so I should say, the WIPA projects and the PBAS, these individuals they don't work for Social Security, but they are contracted out. So they're paid by Social Security, but they don't work, they're not Social Security employees. So they wouldn't have any kind of conflict if you're afraid of that. So they're completely out there and advocating for you. So they want to help you. They want to protect your legal rights for those individuals who want to work, help you identify and remove any barriers to employment. They can help you obtain information about vocational rehabilitation services. To locate a PBAS organization, you would contact Ticket to Work at 1-866-968-7842, or again at socialsecurity.gov, choosework.ssa.gov/ /find help. Okay, and grants and scholarships, because you may want to go to college and you might be afraid that the grants and scholarships that you deserve are going to affect your SSI. Well, grants and scholarships do not count as income or resources for up to 9 months. They must be used for tuition, fees, and other necessary educational expenses. Pell Grants and student aid loans, Bureau of Indian Affairs, student assistance does not count as income for SSI purposes. Okay, achieving a better life experience or an ABLE account. These are tax advantage savings accounts for individuals with a disability. And so now for SSI, if you're an individual, you can only have countable resources like money in the bank, stocks and bonds, cash surrender value of life insurance policies. You can only have the resources of $2,000 or $3,000 if you're a member of a couple. But with the ABLE, you can have more in resources. Now, the ABLE account funds must be used for disability-related expenses. An ABLE account up to $100,000 does not count as an SSI resource. ABLE accounts are funded by the account owner, family, and friends. So eligibility, in order to have the ABLE account not count as a resource, an individual must be eligible for SSI based on a disability or blindness that began prior to age 26, or entitled to Social Security disability or child disability benefits. That means that you became disabled prior to age 22 and you're receiving disability because one of your parents has passed away, or your parent is receiving Social Security retirement or disability benefits. But if an individual receives the child disability benefits, then the ABLE account would be excluded up to $100,000. Or they must have a certification that disability or blindness occurred before age 26. So maybe an individual didn't start to receive SSI until they were older, maybe they were in their 30s. But if they have the certification that the disabling condition occurred prior to age 26, the account would be excluded. Okay, and some reporting responsibilities under SSI. So an individual would report any changes in their status because they may affect eligibility for SSI or the benefit amount. If an individual works and gets SSI, then they must report their earnings. So the changes must be reported as soon as possible, but no later than 10 days after the end of the month in which the change occurred. So that means October's wages would be reported to Social Security by November 10th. So Social Security offers a toll-free automated wage reporting telephone system and a mobile wage reporting application. An individual can also report their wages through their personal My Social Security account. So you can always go the old-fashioned way and mail your wages into the Social Security office every month, but these other ways are much more efficient for getting the information to Social Security. So you can always mail your pay stubs to the local office, but you might find that the SSI telephone wage reporting system is an easier way to report your wages, and you don't have to worry about were they received on time. You can just report it right over the phone. That phone number is 866-772-0953. Or you can report it through the internet wage reporting through your My Social Security account, or through the SSI mobile wage reporting application, SSI MWR. And that's a download free application in Google Play or the Apple App Stores. Okay, so I hope that everybody had an opportunity to create a My Social Security account. So My Social Security puts you in control or gives you access to your own personal Social Security information and really helps you manage your benefits right from the comfort of your home. So if you receive benefits or Medicare with a My Social Security account, you can opt out of mailed notices if the notice would be available online. So you can just look at your notices online. You can request your replacement Social Security card if you're at least age 18, a US citizen, and you have a state ID. You can report your wages if you work and receive disability insurance, so SSDI, or supplemental security income benefits. You can get your benefit verification letter as proof that you're getting benefits. You can check your benefit and payment information in your earnings record. You can change your address and phone number for Social Security. For SSI, we still need to talk to you, but under Social Security, you can change your address and phone number and direct deposit. You can submit an advanced designation representative payee request. So right now, you may be in a position where you're able to manage your benefits, but none of us know what tomorrow is going to bring. And so there may come a time later in life when we're going to need assistance to manage our benefits. And so with the advanced designation, that means that we know who to reach out to if it appears that you need a representative payee to help you manage your benefits. So for instance, I have 3 children, and 2 of my children I know would be excellent representative payees, so I would list them down as the advanced designation. My other child, he's a nice boy, but I'm afraid he would maybe think he was doing the right thing, but maybe not. So maybe he would go to the casino with my benefits and think that he was going to double my money for me. So I know who I would list as the advanced designation in my own case. You can request your replacement Medicare card or get a replacement 1099 if you get Social Security, because Social Security may be taxable, although SSI is never taxable. Okay, if you're not receiving benefits yet, you can still create a My Social Security account so that you can view your benefit estimates at different ages, view possible spouses' benefits, request a replacement Social Security card if you meet that same criteria. You can check the status of your application or appeal so you can track your application. You can get proof that you are not receiving benefits, and you can get your Social Security statement to review. It provides estimates of your future retirement, disability, and survivor benefits. We would ask you to check your earnings record to make sure that you have credit for all of your earnings and all of your contributions to Social Security. And it will tell you the estimated Social Security and Medicare taxes you've paid. To open a My Social Security account, you go to ssa.gov/myaccount, and then you sign in or create an account. You provide some personal information to verify your identity, including some out-of-the-wallet questions. So we ask you some questions we think only you would know. If you have frozen your credit report, you would not be able to do this because we get the questions from Experian. But you can unfreeze your credit report, create a My Social Security account, and then refreeze your credit report. You choose a username and password, and then every single time you log in, we will either text or email you a security code. So that's an extra layer of security. Okay, well, thank you for your attention, and we wish you a safe, happy, and secure tomorrow. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
This is Renee Portnell. I have one question that has to do with SSI. I'm the payee for my daughter because she can't do this, but I know I'm not going to live forever. If the time comes where somebody else has to be her payee, like her sister, is it easy without taking away SSI money from my older daughter to get my younger daughter set up as payee?
Yes, thank you for that question. That's very easy for us, and thank you for thinking ahead for your daughter. So if there comes a time when you want the other daughter to take over the payee duties, what she would do is contact us. We would interview her and to make sure that she understands the duties of being a payee. And we would also ask your daughter who receives SSI to sign a statement saying that she has no objection to her sister being her payee. If you could also provide a letter saying that, since you're older, you're no longer able to manage these benefits. If, let's say, and I hope this doesn't happen, but let's say that you were to pass away, let your other daughter know that she would need to go into Social Security to apply to be payee for her sister. There could be a delay in payment if there comes a time that she doesn't have a payee, that your daughter doesn't have a payee. But then once the new payee is selected, we would start the benefits right up again. And if there's any back pay, any benefits that had been withheld, we'll make sure that that money gets to the new payee.
Thank you. I'm always thinking ahead of what if, if I'm not around and all this stuff, what will happen for my older daughter, and my younger daughter is now getting to understand the things that her sister needs and
Right.
all that stuff. So it's working out slowly. But I'm glad
Right.
that there's somebody there for my older daughter.
Yes, exactly.
Julie, this is
Are
Dawn.
there any other?
This is Dawn. I have a question. Teresa, my question is actually two questions in one. So say I have SSI or SSDI, and later I want to apply for the other. Well, first of all, I heard a rumor that if you apply for one or the other later, after having one or the other before, then you have to prove your disability all over again in the same way that you did for the first time. And then the other part to that question is, where is the range of income or work that I must have or cannot have too much of in order to qualify for both?
Okay, so in order to qualify for Social Security disability, you need to have, either you need to have a parent who is deceased or who is disabled, receiving Social Security disability or retirement, and that's the child disability payments under the Social Security program. Or you have to have worked and paid Social Security tax. So you need to have at least 6 credits, and you can earn up to 4 credits a year. A credit is earnings of $1,510, and Social Security tax was withheld from those earnings. So that means If you had yearly earnings of $6,040, you have earned all full credits that you could possibly earn in 1 year. So you need 6 credits, so that's about a year and a half of work if you became disabled prior to age 24. If you became disabled after age 24, then you need to have, for every, it's a little bit complicated, you need to have earned at least 1 credit for every year after age 24. And so it depends on really on your age when you became disabled, but you need a minimum of 6 credits. And so let's say that you're 28 years old when you've earned your 6 credit. If you became disabled prior to age 24, then we can say you have your 6 credits and you can qualify for Social Security disability. Now, Social Security, we want to be, because the disability criteria for SSI and SSDI are the same. However, we do need to send, if somebody's already receiving one benefit and let's say they've earned their credits, and so now they're applying for Social Security disability, we do need to send the claim for a medical decision, but the disability analyst is taking into consideration that you already qualify for these disability benefits. And so those claims are pretty easy for the disability analyst to make a determination on, since we already have the information that supports an approval decision.
So just to follow up on that, then doesn't that put an additional burden on the person applying to get all new medical documentation for that?
We would ask the person to provide the information to us. So we would ask the individual to provide information about doctor visits and hospitals. We would already have the information from the last application, but from the last application up to the current time, we would need the medical information. Now, an individual doesn't need to actually get their school records or their medical information for us. We're going to write to the school and the hospitals and the doctors to get that information.
Thank you. And Julie, are you ready to pick back up where you left off?
Yeah, I apologize, my computer crashed. And I'm back. So, are there any good questions for Teresa?
I believe, Julie, that you were going to allow anyone from the public to ask questions as well.
Yeah. Yes. Is there any?
Oh, we have a couple hands up now. Looks like
You're now unmuted.
Vicky and Cindy both have their hands up.
So let's do Vicky and then Cindy.
Hi, yes. This is
You're
Vicky
now
Esner
unmuted.
for the record. And this question is for the Social Security question. It was, and I just so individuals know, I do work for the state of Nevada's vocational rehabilitation. And a question was posed and we were trying to direct them to the right individual. But if an individual received award for a disability and it was not, for some reason, they were also legally blind and the paperwork did not reflect that, or it did reflect it and it was missed, who would they contact and what would they do to go about getting that rectified?
Okay, thank you for that question. And so that can make a difference, particularly with the substantial gainful activity levels. And so the individual would want to file an appeal because the decision was made that the individual met the disability criteria, but maybe they didn't address the blind criteria. So they would want to file an appeal so that we could send the case down to the disability analyst and they could make a determination on the blind issue.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cindy,
Hi, thank you. It's very good detailed report. I don't recall if when you were talking about calling in your wages, so that can be done. What about filing their the individual's impaired related work expenses like receipts for transportation and that sort of thing? So that's part of the question. And once a person kind of catapults into the total SSDI, do they still have to be calling in their wages and their IRWE reports? And thank you.
Yes, thank you. So yes, that information when somebody receives SSI or SSDI, those wages should be reported monthly along with the IRWE. Now the IRWE, it's not, so to report that, we do have a form, it's called the 821, where somebody puts down their work information and they would also put down their IRWEs. Now, an individual doesn't need to report their IRWEs every single month. They can just report it when they have a new job or when the IRWEs change. When the individual send in their pay stubs, I would suggest that they include a notice that says, please note, I have the following IRWEs. See the 821 that was provided on in the date that the 821 was provided.
are there any more questions? Teresa, thank you so much. This was a lot of information, but it's so important to our community.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for this important seminar that you put on for the community.
You're welcome. Okay. For a ton of change subjects, we're gonna go back to number 8. And I'd like to introduce Jake Snyder to give a presentation.
Thank you so much. Oh, sorry.
Actually, John, did you want to say anything before Jake begins?
This is Dawn. I can't remember if I wanted to say anything and I might have mentioned something, but if so, I've forgotten by now. So I'll let Jake go first.
Okay, go for it.
Thanks so much, Dawn and Julian, and thank you, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Jake. I'm with Public News Service. We are a public interest news wire working on a mission of building local beat journalism around underreported topics. I had the chance to speak with Dawn about a month ago, and she had invited me here to speak with everyone about what we do and how we can help to build on the council's work. So For a little background, PNS is the newswire for public interest news. We operate as a network of news of local and state focused news wires in 38 states around the country. Building reporting on everything from disability services and awareness issues to voting access to public health to education, and the broad array of topics that are often missed or misrepresented in our media ecosystem as it becomes increasingly nationalized and increasingly sensational. And to do that, we work in partnerships with nonprofits, foundations, community groups, and others who help to fund a beat of journalism with PNS around the topics they work on, and then work in a partnership with our journalists to build and develop an ongoing beat of stories around issues that they feel need more coverage and lifting voices they feel need to be better represented in how media presents the topic. So it's a sort of cooperative for developing quality local news in the NGO sector, focused on your expertise to build journalism that we then create and distribute free of charge to outlets around the state, with a focus on reaching communities that are not as well served by news media, reaching people outside the bubble of public interest journalism as it exists right now, and bringing more people into that conversation. So I just wanted to share a little bit of what that sort of journalism looks like. If I can share my screen, just for an example of the sort of stories that we do. Everything that we do is designed to be short form, multi-platform, so it goes out in audio format, print, digital, podcast, script that an announcer can read over the air as if it's their own content, and designed to be easy to access. And then, of course, they're also published on our site, where every story lives forever, as a resource, and as a resource for our members and others doing outreach work to include in their social media campaigns. And because we're a Trust Project certified newsroom, our content tends to do very well with social media algorithms. And then lastly, I wanted to show you our media usage report detailing the outlets that we know picked up our story through direct distribution. It will run on everything from top of the hour news updates on commercial radio stations to digital broadcasts, small community newspapers, internet radio, and other outlets across the state. This one was also picked up around the country, but the focus is always reaching every corner of Nevada, particularly in those smaller markets. And we can estimate, for example, this story reached more than 1 million people in some form. Typically, we're seeing a local pickup of anywhere between 80 and 100,000 people across the state. And the way our membership is structured is built around an ongoing beat of journalism. So we don't want to just do a one-off story that people may see and then forget, but build a beat of generally about 8 stories per year, so that we're touching back on issues regularly. We're in regular contact with the council to develop stories, to connect us with sources, whether that's people on the Independent Living Council, providers you work with, people you who utilize services directly, advocates, academic experts, and others, and build this beat of multifaceted reporting over time. The cost for membership is $5,500 annually, although that is flexible based on each organization's budget. So, and I think, Dawn, when we'd spoken, we'd established it was $3,500 based on the budget you're working with. And the idea is to make it as accessible for any nonprofit as possible doing public interest work. Well, of course, on our end, having the resources to build these relationships, hire talented journalists, and change the media ecosystem to feature the issues and your perspectives you bring to your work more prominently. So that's kind of the quick gist of who we are. And please let me know if anyone has any questions about that work.
Thank you, Jake. This is Dawn Lyons, and I just wanted to piggyback on that and say thank you for your presentation and coming here today and waiting the time that you needed to wait to present that. And it was at 3,500 because we're small and we're nonprofit, but I wanted to also mention that I thought personally that this would be a wonderful opportunity for the SILC because we could open this up for the Centers for Independent Living to also share this resource with us and get the messages out about programs, services, and just spread the message about independent living.
And just sign up for the record. Yesterday we were talking about the need to get the message out that we exist and that we do good work. And I agreed with Dawn that Jake's service might be the answer to some of our issues in terms of public recognition. But I'd like to hear from other council members what their thoughts are. Are there questions for Jake?
This is Dee Dee Formaster. All I have to say is OMG, there's actually people out there doing real journalism. That's hard to believe because most of the crap that I see on TV is not worth listening to. And so I think that this would be an incredible resource for the SILC as well as the Centers for Independent Living to be able to get their word out, because we just are so busy out there in the field working with people that we don't have a lot of time to do a lot of news releases. And so I think this would be an incredible resource. Thank you.
Taylor, you have your hand up.
Hi, yes, thank you. This is Saber McWhorter Clark for the record. Jake, thanks so much for being here. And Dee Dee, you sort of took the words right out of my mouth. I was here to say basically the same thing. I am thrilled that y'all are out there. I am aware of public news service, so I was so excited to see you on the agenda, Jake. And I feel like the same as Dee Dee, and I'm sure many other people on this call will agree that it's more important, I think, than ever, or certainly as important as ever during this particular time of life, that we have folks that are reporting on the geopolitical and the socioeconomic situation that we have, especially among people that have disabilities and all of the marginalization that occurs. I just don't think there's enough voices out there. And are we able to share the stories that you all produce as long as we credit public news service? Are we able to link to you or share that information?
Yes, absolutely. So, and I did just want to clarify, one thing, that the stories wouldn't be a direct promotion of SILC itself, but news about why the work you do matters and how it affects people's lives, and of course, lifting up their voices. In terms of how the stories are distributed, we would send you a copy that's ready for social media distribution. As soon as the story is released, it is totally unrestricted for media outlets, as well as for you and for any other nonprofits you share it with, to use in whatever format you like.
Thank you so much.
I believe we need a motion. Is that correct, Dawn?
It looks like Mary Evilsizer has either a comment or a question as well. Julie, would you like to take that first?
Yeah. Mary?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Jake, for your presentation. In the Center for Independent Living movement and the SILC movement, we can never have enough marketing. I believe the biggest comment we get is that centers for independent living are the best kept secret, because once individuals discover them, they are a treasure of resources, treasure of peer support and guidance. And I appreciate the stories that you're sharing about, you know, the benefits of the services. My question to you, and first of all, I am a great supporter of public news stories, that especially the ones that are accurate and not politically biased. So that is refreshing. But is there a subscription fee that we would need to cover?
Essentially, it's a membership. So whether it's through Statewide Independent Living Council or some partnership with Centers for Independent Living, there'd be a membership fee, and that's that $3,500 amount that we had discussed. And then that membership essentially gives you the ability to work with one of our journalists to pitch stories on an ongoing basis, about 8 per year. And then the stories are all free to use for anyone who wants to use them. And that's kind of how we work to change some of the incentives in journalism so we can get quality news out there.
So as a membership organization, the SILC would be semi-guaranteed at least 8 stories per year?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, so this is Dawn Lyons, Mary. Jake presented to us the package that I thought would work best for the SILC, because we are small. As an IL network, we could work together to create 8 stories for them to distribute for the year, for each year. And the SILC was looking at paying that fee for us to do that. Definitely the Centers for Independent Living will have a lot more stories to tell than the SILC. So we definitely count on stories from the Centers for Independent Living as well.
Oh, indeed. And our partners, the IL services, with the wonderful work they do with the adaptive equipment, and then in DALC with the legal cases that they're taking on. So Jake, I want to thank you again. Julie, thank you for letting me ask questions. And as always, Don, thank you for coordinating.
Ace.
Yeah, hi, this is Ace Patrick. Yeah, thanks also for this presentation. So are we thinking of the SILC partnering with the centers for the cost, or where are we pulling the cost out of, Dawn?
Good question, Ace. This is Dawn Lyons. So the SILC would be the member and support this. We do have it in our budget. I did check, and it's part of our outreach budget. And because it's an outreach budget, we can share that, like Mary said, with the Centers for Independent Living and partners that have important stories to be heard that have to do with the independent living network and independent living in general. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, this is Ace again. Yeah, thanks, Don. I was just wondering exactly where in the budget you were gonna pull it from, and exactly how, so we'll be covering the whole subscription amount, and then the centers can join in with us on that subscription amount. Or are we gonna, okay. You know me with money. Don knows me with money.
Yes.
Yeah, I
anything
just
else,
wanted to
Brenda?
ask that question because I was trying to figure out. Yeah, okay, great.
We're gonna
Okay,
the silk is gonna pay the fee. But in order to do that, I need a motion.
Mary, did you have something else to say before I ask for a motion?
No, thank you, Don. I will lower my hand. Thank you.
Okay, this is Don Lyons. I guess we're looking for a motion at this point.
I'll make a motion that
Sure.
we approve using this news media because I think it would be an incredible asset to our outreach to throughout the state of Nevada, including the rural areas. And I think it can be nothing but a plus for us.
Julie's talking further. Sorry, Julie's talking for the record. I'd like to amend Dee Dee's motion to include paying the 3,500 fee.
So this is Don Lyons. The motion that I hear on the floor is that we go ahead and subscribe to public news services, paying 3,500 for this membership, and as described. Do we have a second?
Yes.
For the record, this is Mary Eagle-Sizer. I second.
yeah, a lot of us will second that. I think this is Ace. Mary jumped on it first.
Any further discussion?
This is Don Lyons. Only discussion extra is that, Jake, I will get with you after this meeting to go ahead and set that up once the vote has taken and it's passed.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Wendy, could you do a roll call, please?
Yes, I can. This is Wendy Thornley for the record. Evander Davis.
Aye.
Mary Eagle-Sizer.
Aye.
Dee Dee Formaster.
Aye.
Saber McWhirter.
Aye.
Raquel O'Neill.
Space.
Aye.
Kate Oste.
Aye.
Renee Portnell.
Aye.
Ace Patrick.
Aye.
Linda Vivoda.
Aye.
And Julie Weissman Steinbach.
Aye.
And that is the end of the list.
So
Do I not need to vote? This is a question, sorry.
This
For
is
the
Don.
record.
This is Don Lyons for the record. I'm sorry, Obioma. I thought I explained that ex officios are not voting members, but we do appreciate the participation.
Great, thank you for explanation, no problem.
So the motion codes, I think we should invite Jake back. Maybe not next quarter, but the one after that, to report on what we've done over the course of a couple quarters.
This is Don Lyons. I was going to add to that, Julie. It may take a little time to get everything in order because we have brand new fiscal year where awards have yet to go out, so it may take a little bit of time, so we may want to wait until our April meeting.
That's what I suggested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to clarify for
January
us.
is too-
Oh, sorry, Julie.
January is way too soon. Mary, you have your hand up.
Thank you,
For us,
Julie.
oh, sorry. Just to note, the start time is flexible, so whenever works best for you to start the membership, we can get it rolling.
Okay, thank you, Julie. For the record, this is Mary Sizer. That's a very good idea to have Jake come back. Maybe at that time we can work on some of the logistics. You know, what is the timeline? What are the deadlines? How do we decide what stories get posted? And see, you know, just take care of some of the housekeeping, which I'm sure Dawn and Julie will work with you on ahead of time as well. Thank you.
Thank you again, Jake.
Thank you all so much. I'll jump off if there's nothing else, and Don will be in touch. I'll be in touch with and how to start, and really looking forward to working with everyone.
Us too. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna move to number 11. Dawn, can you this item?
Sure. Julie, I just wanted to, before I start with number 11, can I just remind you that we ended yesterday in the middle of agenda item number number 9, and we hadn't voted on it yet regarding the SILC recruitment statement and onboarding and training materials.
Okay.
Do you want to do that one first?
Yes, please. Thank you, Dawn.
So, oh, okay, go ahead.
With the board like that, to share that document, or can we just vote on it?
I think so. This is Dawn Lyons. I think we can go ahead and have a motion made. I'm looking, unless anyone during discussion would like me to present it again, they can speak up.
Okay.
But I think we're just looking for a motion to approve the SILC recruitment statement, onboarding and training materials as presented yesterday.
Would somebody like to read?
This is Javier Davis for the record. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the recruitment statement that was discussed yesterday.
I'll second that. This is Linda Vejvoda.
Great. Any further discussion?
So can I get an amendment to that motion to include the onboarding and training materials that Julie created as well?
So moved.
Yes, so moved too.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? So
Aye.
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 Any against? Motion passed. Thank you, Dawn, for the reminder. Okay, now we go down to 11.
Yeah, so this is Dawn Lyons for the record. I got together, as it's in our state plan for independent living, with the Northern and Southern Centers for Independent Living to create what we were going to do in our spill was called something like emergency planning. So what we did was we decided that there are so many resources in the state of Nevada that really all we needed was a disability specific list to put on our websites and to have available for our consumers. You know, the DD Council has a really great plan for individuals to be proactive and get preparedness, have kits ready and things like that. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. So I submitted it as a material, the list of resources for emergencies and disasters. And if anyone needs me to share it, I can, but it really just has the most important links that are helpful specifically for people with disabilities in Nevada. And so hope you guys have had a chance to look at that and click on the links. And I thank you, Mary and Lisa, for your assistance on this and your collaboration. It was important to make sure we're getting the right message out. And I thought there might have been another suggestion that one of you had. So if you did, please tell me and remind me about that. But otherwise we can, I would love for feedback or questions about it.
John, this is Mary. Oh, may I?
Yes.
Thank you, Julie.
Sorry.
After we discussed these contacts, some of the staff at my center, I had them call the numbers, and we reviewed the DD Council's plan, and we agree completely. They have a wonderful training program, but after calling some of the numbers, we would encourage, you know, that all of us make personal contacts, friends, your neighbors, someone that can actually react in a quicker time. And that would be essential, like the DD Council's plan states. That's a great place to start for anyone. It sounds simple, but it's critical. Thank you.
Is there any action we need to take?
Julie, this is
Yes.
Lynette, for the record. Let's Dawn if she can help me, because I can't pull it up. But is there a way to make sure people in the community that have disabilities have a ride if they don't have family members or friends that are close by and can grab them and drive them out of an area that's flooding or on fire, whatever the emergency is?
So this is Dawn Lyons. That isn't a question that I specifically looked up when I was looking at emergency resources, but those are the kinds of things that are important to know about. So I don't know if maybe the Centers for Independent Living might want to chime in and give us some information about what might be available out there. I know you guys often refer people to services like that, but I don't know specifically myself if there is one, or especially for the rural areas. I seriously doubt there's emergency ride services. Looks like Mary, you have an answer.
We thought of that too. And then for somebody that doesn't have family and friends, really one of the best places you can look towards is 911. They will connect you with the fire department. Also, if you have a neighborhood association crime stopping group on your block, we have found them to be good volunteers. But otherwise, contact 911, let them know about your situation, and they will reach out to see what volunteers are in place in that particular crisis or emergency. But you need to have a plan. 911 is a plan, better than no plan. So it's a place to start. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, this is Raquel O'Neill for the record. Is it okay if I chime in?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I do know that Henderson has an emergency preparedness department, and so does North Las Vegas. And I believe that also the city of Las Vegas does as well. And I have been approached specifically by Jeremy Hines, HYNDS, regarding the blindness community. And he did have discussions with paratransit about a system in place for emergencies as long as people are registered with the emergency management areas of Henderson, Las Vegas, and North Las Vegas, depending on where you live. And so I think it's really important that we let individuals with disabilities know that they need to voice, their need in advance if that is something that they would like to participate in. But it is available. Not sure if that's on the list of resources or not.
So this is Dawn Lyons. Raquel, that's a really good point. And I did mention, so I'm just going to read the introduction statement before the list. And it says, an emergency or natural disaster can happen when we least expect it. For those of us with disabilities, it is even more important to have a plan and be prepared. The Nevada Independent Living Network would like to offer a list of some of the valuable resources available. There are many county-specific resources listed on each county website, but the list below offers statewide and individual resources. Remember, you can always call 211 to get immediate resources, 988 for a mental health emergency, and 911 if you need any other emergency assistance. And then, of course, it lists the ones I mentioned. But I can add in there where it says there are many county resources available. I can just add there are many county and city specific resources. If you think I should.
I think that would be a good clarification point. And then are the county and city emergency management teams listed in the resource list, or like the phone numbers to reach them?
I didn't, because there are 17 counties in Nevada and there's a bunch of cities beyond that. So I just kind of generally said that.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so we can reach out to whoever. I like the 211 statement because they're definitely wonderful at getting us to where we need to go. So thank you, Don.
Hi, this is Dee Dee Formaster for the record. As you know, I'm up in fire country. And so I think it might be important. I'm going to contact my regional transportation system and in the area and see if they do indeed have listings for people with disabilities that may not have transportation in these specific rural areas in case there is a natural disaster and they cannot get out. And also I was thinking that, maybe it might be good for us in this area to maybe put a little fire icon next to the people that are really in dangerous fire areas, because fire sweeps very quickly within a matter of moments up here. And it's hard for people with disabilities to be able to safely get out. And so I'm going to suggest that to our transportation division for the people that do not have transportation. And maybe it might be nice if all of us centers tried to, help with any list that may not be available or get people connected up. I know I'm connected into an emergency response where if an emergency or disaster occurs, they have a citywide telephone system that clicks on and alerts people in the area. So I'll check a little bit more about the resources here in this area and in the rules, because I know that, like, for instance, Virginia City has had a couple of fires that spread so quickly that it overwhelmed the entire fire department, which is very small. So we do have a lot of small communities out in the rural areas where fire can get out of control rather quickly. So.
And this is Dawn Lyons again. I was also going to add to that, Dee Dee, in that, you know, there's a lot of different things that happen in different areas, whether they're rural or not. And so it's really important to contact your local numbers or your local websites to see what is available. And if something isn't, to advocate for that in your area. Because the SILC can advocate for statewide, but we can't cover every single area that others may live in. So that's something that's important. And if we can always assist in the language or typing something up for anybody, we can assist with that kind of stuff. We can educate, we can reach out for you if you can't, but we need to know about it. And you need to be proactive, right?
Yeah, I think it's important. I'm just concerned in particular with transportation out in the rural areas, seen as a lot of people can't even make it to the store, let alone, you know, anywhere else. And and certainly not out of their homes when there is an emergency. Like Carson City is famous for floods in January. We get all the snow before January, and then suddenly we get a warm storm in, it melts all the snow up above, and it floods the entire city. And so it's not unusual to have that problem here. So
Didi, I'm gonna interrupt you. Do we need a motion?
Yeah, so thank you. This is Dawn Lyons. Yeah, so and another thing is some places have shelters for service animals and some don't, right? So you have to find that out. What I'm looking for right now is a motion to approve the resources for emergencies and disasters with the list, including county and city language, as Raquel suggested.
For the record, this is Mary Evilsizer. I make a motion that we accept the description and the list presented to the SILC regarding statewide emergency contact information specific for individuals with disabilities.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
This is Dawn Lyons. Just to clarify, is that motion including to add the city with the county specific resources in the language?
Yeah.
For the record, if you'd like, we can add that. I know when we did the research, Dawn, we got daunted by breaking it down by city, by county, and then we had decided on state. But if the SILC wants to take on the task of adding the city and the county, I guess it would be okay.
Oh, this is Dawn Lyons. I didn't mean adding links to those resources. I meant just adding the language in our main introductory paragraph to include county and city specific resources listed.
Absolutely. Do you want me to restate the motion?
Just that the motion be amended to include the language with city in the introduction.
Okay. This is the amendment to include the language within the introduction.
Sorry. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Motion passes. Yay. Okay, now, Dawn, would you like to talk about the survey?
Yes, so this is Dawn Lyons. Number 12 is regarding the survey results and the announcement of the drawing winner. The drawing was done yesterday. Wendy witnessed. It was a random drawing. I didn't just pick and choose a name. I actually pulled it out of a hat. So it was Chrissy. Let me find her name real quick. Chrissy Costanza. And she lives in Las Vegas. And I did put the announcement on our website, and I sent her congratulations, and she should have already received her prize. So congratulations to Chrissy. And I hope that yesterday I had Wendy send out, I was trying to make the Word document accessible and it did not work. So I apologize for anyone who had trouble with their screen readers reading that document, but today Wendy posted the link to the actual survey results in Google Forms, and that should be accessible. So hopefully you all had a chance to look at that. She said she emailed that out. So I hope you got it. And if there's any questions, we only got a few more after Disability Awareness Day, but we got a few more. So I think the final count was 77 people participated in the survey, which wasn't as good as I had hoped, but it's been a challenge this year, or this last couple of years. So anyway, I thought it was a telling report, and that it looks like mental health caught up with accessible housing as far as the top concern that people have and the top need. So again, the SPIL work group can focus more and drill down a little bit harder into the data that came out of that and other reports and other assessments around the state that include people with disabilities. But if anyone has any questions about that now, I might be able to answer it. Doesn't look like there's any questions, so I appreciate that. And we'll try again and work harder next time to get more responses.
Okay. And speaking of the school, Dawn, would you like to give an update?
Yeah, so we got a message from National SILC, or NA SILC, that the SPIL deadline was going to be extended a year. I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know if that means that our current SPIL timeline would end up being extended for another year, just like it was last time. So we would have a 4-year SPIL instead of a 3-year SPIL. That kind of makes more sense to me. So I'm guessing that that's probably going to be the case. Or if that could mean necessarily that we still have a 3-year SPIL, but it won't get approved until the year after we begin it. So that's the other option I thought of too, but who knows what ACL will say. I have a meeting with them next Wednesday that actually all of you are invited to go to, and you should have received that invitation. It just came out recently, but I think it's called the Office of Independent Living that it came from. And hopefully they'll have an update for that, about that for us then, and we'll learn more about that. But as far as our goals go, we are on track. There is one thing that we're a little bit behind on, and that's because Cody needs more Youth Action Council members, and we can't finish that. Well, I guess we have sort of, so to speak, because he's agreed that the Youth Action Council can adopt the SILC policies and procedures until there become more members of the Youth Action Council that they can discuss that. So yeah, I guess that has been completed as well, so to speak, in a temporary way.
We have lots of people here in Carson if he wants to contact me. Lots of youth.
I know Cody's here and he heard that, so. Other than that, does anybody have any questions about our goals or objectives on this bill or our budget that I submitted for the final? Oh, one other thing, just to explain the overage on the spending on the expenditures for fiscal year 21. Or I'm sorry, for fiscal year 22. I'm sorry, is because of aging and disability services fiscal issue from fiscal year 21, where we are going to have additional spending money that will be included in fiscal year 23. So all of that overage will be processed, and it's mostly travel. It will go into the travel category, and it will be included in that. It's just a matter of moving money around, but it's going to be done officially through Aging and Disability Services. So don't worry about it. We won't have to explain ourselves to ACL about that. It's already taken care of.
Any questions about that, Noah? Okay, and then are there any suggestions for future agenda items? I know we're going to talk about the news, the logistics of how we're going to share that resource. But are there any other items folks have? If you think of anything, as always, Dawn's the person to contact.
So this is Dawn Lyons. May I, Julie?
Yeah.
I didn't know if you wanted me to ask this or if you wanted to address this, but today and
I was just getting to that.
Oh, you want to? Okay, I'll let you do it then.
I was just about to get there. But if you want to, why don't you go ahead and do it?
Okay. So yesterday and today we had to squeeze in a lot and to manage our time properly. And because of that, because of the great information that we were able to have during these last two days for this meeting, we had to exclude our regular reports. And that's okay this time, but we really need to make sure we're having enough time to cover everything we need to cover. And so Julie and I were talking about it, and we think that it would probably be best to make each day a 3-hour meeting instead of a 2-hour meeting. So it would be 1 to 4 instead of 1 to 3. That would allow for break times for CART and ASL, so that you know, we're not shortcutting ourselves again if we only did 1 day longer. So if we do both days 3 hours each meeting and then we end early, great. But I think we really need that extra time so that we can include important discussions like the ones we had yesterday and today. You're muted, Dee Dee.
This is Dee Dee Formaster for the record. I think that we are covering a lot of important information at this time, and probably will continue to cover important information for the disability community. So I think it's important to extend the meetings, the extra hour. So I make that motion.
This is Ace. I would second what Dee Dee just said.
This is Evander Davis for the record. I am all in favor of extended meetings. We need to make sure that people understand too, though, that some of us are at work while we're doing these meetings. And so we're gonna have to be able to make an allowance for those people who can't stay those 3 hours. I know there's sometimes that I'm not gonna be able to stay for a 3-hour meeting, but I'm gonna do my best to do it. But I'm saying there's sometimes I'm not gonna be able to. So I'm just gonna make sure that you guys understand that as a person who is supposedly supposed to be answering phones and things like that while I'm at the meeting, that there may be some times that I can't stay for the whole 3 hours.
This is Dawn Lyons, Havander. I totally understand that. And, I know that it works for most members for it to occur in the afternoon, and that just happens to be when you work. And it might work better for you in the evening where it doesn't work that well for others. But because the SILC does have the reimbursement policy, we can compensate you for hours missed if that's the case. And since it's only quarterly, you may want to look into that option.
I can definitely check with the boss and see what we can do. I will check into it and get back with you on it.
Yeah, and to be clear, we're not just suggesting this to throw an extra tag for the sake of it. We have a lot to cover, and 2 hours just isn't enough. Any other discussion?
Julie, this is Renee. The meeting's going to 3 hours is fine with me. If it goes any longer than that, due to my issues with my legs and my back and sitting for a long period of time, I can't do 5 hours straight, but 3 is not bad.
I can assure you, nobody is gonna sit at the computer for more than 3 hours.
This is Ace. I just want to say that I know that there are other, SILC councils in other states that end up having day-long, meetings. And so for as far as I'm concerned, I fully support this because our agenda has been growing and growing and growing. And it's important to get to the reports as well as SILC business items that we need to attend to and vote on, as well as much needed presentations like the ones that we've had over the past 2 days. So I think, and I understand, people working, many of us have chronic health issues. I certainly have my own issues, to where I know that Julie will give us a much needed break.
Yes.
Somewhere in 3 hours to get up, move around, do what you need to do. And I just want to say that, there are other councils and commissions that have 3-hour meetings. I know it's a lot, but we are growing. And we're moving forward. And so I just want to say again that, I joined the council because I wanted to be proactive in things, and I wanted to learn, and I wanted to see things for the disability community move forward and change. So for me, it's not much time to give when I think it's quarterly. And I certainly, will struggle through my own issues to be here. Definitely when possible, unless something comes up. So that's my 2 cents worth. And I think we've been trying to move towards this for a while now. So.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, there was a motion in a second.
And a second.
I'm gonna call for the vote so that we have time for public comment.
If we take a vote now, we'll have time for public
Yeah,
comment.
that's why I'm calling for the vote. All those in-
Hi, Julie. I'd like to vote, but I'd also like to just make a quick comment. This is Raquel O'Neill for the record. And for those of us who are participating on multiple councils and multiple meetings, I really like being able to cover everything in a timely fashion. And I also really like the idea of continuing to collaborate with other councils and maybe hosting presentations, co-presentations together, like being able to invite other councils to the Social Security presentation that you all held, and if something at the VR Council was held that would be appropriate for IL, likewise. And so if the more that we can do that and collaborate together so that nobody is having items and presentations on their agendas that could be shared, I am all for it. But when we have different council meetings with different the same presentations, that's where it becomes hard for me.
I'm getting worried about time.
Duly noted, Raquel. I gotcha.
Yeah. I'm gonna call for the vote. All those in favor of extending our regular meetings to 3 hours a day. So, aye.
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 All those against. Motion passes.
Aye.
Okay, now, is there any public comments?
Did anyone oppose?
No.
Okay, so we determined that the motion passed. Sorry, I missed that part. If you said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I said the motion passed.
So you in public comment? This is so you public comment now,
Yeah.
Julie? Okay.
Yes.
I would like to say something if I may. I would just like to say good job, Julie. I know that chairing, especially 2 days in a row, is a tough job. I know how much work goes into, you know, the SILC meetings. And I know that, you know, trying to keep it, and move things along is also a tough job. So I really appreciate you taking over the position of chair, and congratulations on completing your first SILC quarterly meeting chairing. Congratulations to Havander as well for being vice chair. And also I'd like to say congratulations to our newest members as well, Biama and Linda, and warm welcome to you all. And thank you again, you know, for a very informative meeting. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. I'm excited about the work we're going to get done this year. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I declare this meeting adjourned. And we'll see you guys, January 11th, 2023. How is that possible?
Whoopee. Thanks, Julie. Thanks,
That's
everyone.
scary.
Thank you,
See you
Julie.
all then. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.